We've got some good news for renters in California. A new law going into effect this week, capping security deposits at 1 month's rent, with some exceptions. To break this down for us, we've got Yahoo Finance's very own Dani Romero here with us. All right, so what do we need to know? What's happening in California?
If you're a California tenant, you won.
I wish. I live here in New York. But still, tell me more about the West Coast.
California's new law, Assembly Bill 12, really does limit security deposits to 1 month's rent. This is really a big move for California. This puts California in the 12th state to have a cap on security deposits. This law went into effect just yesterday, Monday, July 1st. Landlords, though, that have 2 or 4 rental units are exempt from this law. But again, really the move here is to make housing way more accessible. California is just one of those expensive states, just like New York, Brad. Last year, the average monthly rent was about $2,700 for a 1-bedroom apartment. The downside here is if unhappy landlords could really essentially pull their rental units off the rental market. So that could add some pressure to the supply. But landlords really do argue that this law really does put a limit on them financially if they have to repair damages to the property or even compensate for unpaid rent from one of their tenants. So really that's what they're arguing here. On the flip side, though, new apartments are taking longer to rent out because there's been so much supply that has been added to the market. So landlords are really competing for tenants right now. And this is actually an advantage for tenants because they could negotiate their price. They could even be asking for perks such as a parking spot, maybe for that matter. So again, California is moving in the direction, but this law really is trying to tackle housing affordability.
So also, investors are waiting on potential rate cuts here this year. How can you tell us how cuts might impact housing stocks that we've been tracking too?
Brad, in theory, lower rates would help the housing market. That would mean that mortgage rates are lower. So that means that would really incentivize people to sell their home, people to buy homes. But it's not that simple. I spoke with an analyst at Bank of America, and he really said it matters why the Federal Reserve cuts rates and whether that will benefit home builders in the long run. If the economic environment is weak, that's not so good. But we have seen the economy so far be holding up with higher rates, but there has been some cracks in the economy. Overall, though, some home builders have been pointing to some weakness from consumers. So we'll have to wait and see really what the economic environment really rolls out.
Dani Romero, thank you so much. Tracking all things housing market and economy.